Well, after another night at sea, we've arrived at our next port in a whole new country. Where in the world are we?
We're in Marseille, France.
We had to take a shuttle bus from the port because there's a much newer industrial-like port where all the cruise ships drop off to the old port, which is about 6 miles away. There is a free shuttle bus that you can take that the port operates, but you have to walk all the way out of the port, and then it doesn't supposedly drop you off as close. We decided to pay the $15 each for a round-trip bus that the cruise provided and dropped us off right here in the old part of town. And we're going to explore for a little while. We don't really have a specific plan, and we'll see what we can find.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board the Petit Train de la Bonne. On this journey, you will discover a few of the most beautiful monuments of Marseille. The old harbor in Notre-Dame, the cornice, the forts, the pharaoh, the Saint Victor Abbey will soon no longer have secrets for you.
Der Palais wurde nach Plänen von Napoleon III gebaut.
Visiting the Cathedrals code. Its lovely beach has always been an important season. And for this visiting on the right, you will discover the Manus Cove and its small preserved creeks that the people from Marseille love to go to. We are accustomed to say that Marseille is 2,600 years old, but its origins could go back to way before. Notre-Dame de la Garde. From now on, small trains will pass by on the parking lot every 10 minutes. Your ticket is valid for your return.
So we made our way to the Basilica, Notre-Dame Basilica, on top of a mountain overlooking Marseille. It's 149 meters up here. And no, we actually did not walk it, believe it or not.
I wanted to.
Yeah,
but,
he wanted to, but I convinced him instead. We found one of those cute little trains that goes around the city. And it brought us straight here for €9 round trip. So we were pretty excited about that. So here we are at the Basilica. We do have some footage of the inside. It's really amazing. Like, everything is in gold leaf. There's a lot of art, all those kinds of things. Consecrated in 1864. Was also briefly, well, it was built upon an ancient fort, like from the Byzantine Empire, but it was also briefly used as a fortification later on after it was built. Does have a drawbridge and everything for the front door, and then used again as a church. There was a service happening in the very bottom basement part of the church when we first came in, so we couldn't go all the way through that one, but then we came to the main level of the church and we were able to go in and get a lot of really cool footage of some great artwork, ships hanging from the ceiling and all kinds of neat stuff.
I'm just really curious, in the 1800s, who actually walked up here just to go to church?
Yeah, but there are a lot of villages like on the way up. There are a lot of apartments and houses and shops and things like that all the way up the mountain. So I'm guessing those were the people who came up here to go to church.
Just a little more on the hop-on, hop-off train. Like Felicia said, it was €9.
Get some music, get some entertainment over here.
Like she said, it was €9, and they actually stop here at the top and let you off, and you just got to hold on to your ticket, and a train supposedly comes every 10 minutes or so, and you can just hop on the next one that comes and finish your ride. And it takes a tour through the little old part of town here. There are 2 separate tours that you can do. We did the one specifically that came up here to Notre Dame just because, Felicia didn't want to walk up here.
Right. just wanted to point out as well that this prison on an island in the middle of the bay or harbor, whatever you want to call this, outside of Marseille, is actually the prison where the Count of Monte Cristo was set. You might remember that from high school English, and Alexander Dumas wrote that novel about the man who was in prison for several years on that island in that prison. So we walked along the old port here looking for just a little cafe where we could run in, grab a pastry and a coffee, and then come sit outside. And it's just non-existent in this part of the city. I think probably because real estate is just really at a premium, so it's not worth it to have a little stop like that. So we did stop at a restaurant that's a little bit of a fusion between French and Italian, so we thought that was kind of interesting. Jeff got a waffle with gelato on it, and I got a literal ice cream sandwich. So this is brioche with chocolate ice cream inside. And I also got an espresso macchiato, so I haven't tried either one of these yet, so give me just 1 second. Hang on. Just a lot of background noise. So we actually wanted the crepes, and they were out of crepes. What French cafe is out of crepes? But yet they were. So here we are with our ice cream sandwich and our waffle and our macchiato instead. So I'll let you know. Let's see. That is not what we would think of as a macchiato. Let's put it that way. I know macchiatos don't really exist in Europe, so like that's kind of a weird thing. Okay, so here we go. Let's give this a try. This is a toasted brioche bun with chocolate ice cream, but it's not in there very well, so hang on. Okay. Okay, I get on board with that.
Longchamp, correspondance tramway des deux.
So a couple things didn't work out for us where we had sort of thought we were going to do. One was the prison. There's a ferry that goes out to the prison that's in the middle of the harbor, and that ferry is not running today. So that was not an option for us. A second thing that we thought we might want to do, Napoleon actually had a palace built here in the mid-1800s for Empress Eugenie. And it was then turned over to the city when she died, and we thought it was going to be like a palace that we could go to, but upon further research we discovered it's actually just a venue that they use for like concerts and dining halls and receptions and those kind of things. So that wasn't an option either. So we jumped on the subway and we came out here a little bit further into the city from where we were out on the port. This is the Longchamp Palace, And it now serves as an art museum on one side and the Museum of Natural History on the other. They're super reasonable. €3 a piece to get into. If we were at all museum people or we were here long term, we definitely would want to check those two things out. But you know, we're limited on time and we're not huge museum people. I wouldn't say if there's an exhibit that interests us, we might go see that particular one. But otherwise, like, we're going to skip that for today. Also want to mention about the Longchamp Palace is that there is no admission fee to get into the grounds themselves. There's a lot of great stuff on the grounds. Waterfalls, gardens, a little creek that a bunch of kids were playing in, all kinds of really cool stuff for exactly €0. So give that a try too. So behind me, you can see the Porte de. This is an Arc de Triomphe, the triumph of the Napoleonic Wars here in France. So that's what it was commemorated in order to represent. Behind that is a neighborhood we just walked all the way through, a little bit uphill. Great little neighborhood. Lots of, mostly in fact, Turkish Muslim influence. So all the restaurants, all the hotels, all the clothing, the food, everything is of that particular culture. So if you're looking for that and you really love that kind of thing, this is the neighborhood for you right behind me. Okay, we stumbled upon a really cool archaeological find here while we were just kind of walking through the city. This is the Aqueduct der Uvion. It was actually built in the 13th century to carry water from up a little bit in the hills from the water sources there, various streams and rivers and those kind of things, down to the 380 wells in the old city, in the old port, in the old town. So it was filled in once the canal was built in the mid-1800s because they didn't need it anymore. And then in 1988, they actually excavated it to be this really cool structure, or what's left of it, that you see behind me.
We've mentioned a number of times in our videos that we're fans of hop-on, hop-off trains, buses, whatever they have in the city as a good way to get around. But we're also fans of public transportation in general, both when you're traveling to get around and, you know, back home. As we've mentioned previously, we used to live in New York City. So we decided when we went to one of our locations here to take the subway because it was a little over a mile and a half. Could have walked it, but it was uphill, and the subway was taking us basically directly to where we want to go. So that's what we did, and tell me what you thought about that subway.
Well, so first of all, it was €3.50 a piece for a round trip ticket to get there and to get back, which I thought was pretty reasonable.
Definitely.
Actually, I didn't think that was too bad. It was €1.70 if you were just going one way, but we went ahead and bought the round trip ticket. But first of all, the process of buying the ticket was not an easy process. So we saw that they had the tap to pay at the turnstiles themselves, but you could only tap after you bought the ticket. You tapped the ticket. You couldn't tap your phone. You couldn't tap your credit card. None of the real actual tap to pay stuff. And then there's this little roller bar that you had to scroll down for various menus to even get to the point of seeing it in English. So my high school French is a little rusty, so I didn't trust myself to do it all in French. So we were just trying to get to English. One of the machines was broken. It just wasn't resetting itself. Somebody had given up on it and it wasn't resetting. So that was a little bit of a process to start with. It was causing a little bit of just kind of what the hell kind of thing, what the heck. And then once we got through the turnstile, y'all, this subway station was a mess. I mean, a mess. Like, I've never even seen anything like this in New York City.
Yeah,
That's
if any
how
of
bad
you
it
have been
was.
to New York City before, I mean,
Like-
some stations are immaculate, some are a little sketchy.
Think G train to Brooklyn and then multiply that by about 10, and it was horrific. There was just trash everywhere. The trash containers were overflowing everywhere. Graffiti every place. Smelled like pee. The whole thing, not even just the stairwell, the entire thing. Like, it was awful. The trains were in disrepair. There was no digital displays on the trains themselves. Like, it was really a horrific subway experience for us. We just really were not fans of that.
It was a quick ride there.
It was fast.
Trains came every 4 minutes or so, and it was. I don't think we waited more than 4 minutes.
No, I don't think so either. So it was on time. We'll give it that. But once we got to the other end, we actually discovered that our metro ticket we could use on any, is it RTM, right? Any RTM system. That's whatever the transit system is here in Marseille. And we actually jumped on a tram, which is like the above ground, runs on gets electricity from the cable above it, and it was amazing.
Yeah, it was good. It was clean. It was modern.
Yeah.
You knew where you were going. You can see around. Nobody's doing anything sketchy because there's windows all around.
Digital displays, like absolutely clean, like absolutely cap up. Like the train was, or the car was maintained really well. Like everything was just like perfect. So I would 100% recommend. You can't get everywhere in the city on those trams, but it's a pretty vast network of where you can.
And there are buses too on the same system, your same card. You can use buses. They did have unlimited ones for a week, a month. I can't tell you any details on that, but if you're going to spend a longer time here, you could probably get just about anywhere. Definitely on the buses, but pretty much over the good parts of the city on a tram or a subway. And definitely, if a tram is available over the subway, take the tram.
Just take the tram. The subway, like we thought at first maybe the garbage was some kind of like strike that was going on, or we know there's a strike in Paris about garbage collectors, but the city is not overflowing with trash. So we were kind of confused about that, but we did a little bit of research and we couldn't find any reason that this trash was, and it wasn't just the station we went in, it was every single station that we went through. One thing I didn't mention about public transportation when we were talking about it the other day, in the United States, the doors open and you get off. That doesn't happen on public transportation here. You actually have to hit or pull a lever to get off. So just be aware of that. Don't be standing in front of the door waiting for it to open. It's not going to happen until you either touch the touch point or some of them have a lever that open the door for you. So if you're the first person to get off and you need to do that, or the door is not going to open and you're going to be moving on to the next stop.
Yeah, if it looks like there's a local that wants to get off, because they'll get frustrated as you're just standing there and they will shove by you and press the button. So just stand back and let them do it, and you can see how it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Check this out, guys. I thought I was going to miss out on making Felicia climb a whole lot of stairs today, but on our way to our last destination, look what I just found.
Lots of them. So we've made it to what's going to be our last destination here in Marseille today. This is the Cathedral of Marseille, and you can see it kind of almost looks like two different buildings. That's because it a little bit is, right? So this part right here was actually founded in about the 12th or 13th century, so a really, really long time ago, built in Romanesque style and so on. But then in the mid 1800s, Napoleon actually laid the stones of the foundation, or the first stones of the foundation, for the new part of the cathedral. It was not finished until the late 1800s when it was consecrated. It's now a minor basilica, and it's one of the largest cathedrals in France. It does hold 3,000 people. So it's this architecture is a little bit more eclectic, so a little bit of Romanesque. You can see a little bit of Gothic there, all different, maybe a little Byzantine, so a little different way that we're looking at the architecture of the new cathedral. So guys, we were able to go into the cathedral. It is exactly €0 to get in, so it's free to get in. And we were able to film as well, so we'll run some of that roll for you here in just a second as well. But this is probably one of the most beautiful churches or cathedrals of any kind that I've ever been in. Just simplistically gorgeous. So not a lot of intricate detail and ornate gold leafing and that kind of thing, but the entire floor is mosaic tile. There are just various styles of art and architecture sort of mashed together in there, you know, everything from Byzantine to Venetian to Romanesque to Gothic. Like, all the styles are there, and they are just married so perfectly in this really, really amazing piece of architecture. I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you do this if you're in Marseille.
So after visiting that gorgeous cathedral, I think that about wraps it up for our time here in Marseille. We are headed back to the ship now. We do have a couple hours left in port, but Felicia gave me the black plague that she contracted the other day,
Also
and
known as a head cold. Yeah.
feeling a little bit under the weather. So I think we'll take the advantage of going back to ship and maybe get a quick nap or something to eat.
Right.
But all that being said, what did you think of the city?
So there are a few things we really loved about it. The first thing is this cathedral right behind us. This is a absolutely must see. The Marseille Cathedral is like nothing I've ever seen actually in my whole entire lifetime and all my travels. Another thing we really loved was the Basilica up on the mountain. That was really cool. I wouldn't suggest walking up there. It is quite a little hike. If you can find a form of transportation, just make that happen for sure. If you're looking to get away from the port a little bit more, definitely the Longchamp Palace was like really beautiful in the gardens and things like that. And if we'd had more time, we probably would have checked out at least the Natural History Museum.
Definitely.
Probably not the Art Museum because that's not really our thing, but if it's your thing, absolutely check that out, right? But there were some things that really kind of turned us off about the city. One was the public transportation in terms of the subway. Like, that just was like insane to me. I've never seen anything quite so dirty and yucky and unkempt and just not,
I agree.
you know, not tourist friendly. The people, not super friendly at the cafes and things. So like, you know, you get the stereotype of standoffish French people, but this is sort of that.
Yeah, and I think we went to Paris many years ago, and I went in there with the expectation that the French people were being rude. Now, this is, you know, a couple decades removed, but I actually found them quite friendly in Paris.
But not so much here.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
I didn't get that vibe here. It's not a bikeable city, but people try to bike it. So there are no bike lanes, which means
She almost got run over one time.
the sidewalks are like pretty dangerous actually. So like people are biking like mad people on the sidewalks, and as a pedestrian, like, that's your sidewalk. You have the right to be there. I don't know where the bikes are supposed to be, but I'm pretty sure it's not barreling down the middle of the sidewalk while you're trying to walk it, right? It is a walkable city. As far as just like, we could have walked to the palace if we had wanted to put that much effort in today, and if it weren't maybe quite so hot. It's a hot and humid day.
Or the
here
Black Plague.
Or the Black Plague, that also. Other things we didn't really particularly love, we tried to get like just a drink or a snack along the waterfront, and that really wasn't an option. They're all full-blown, full-fledged restaurants. We did end up getting a couple of beverages around the corner from the waterfront. Not the best beer we've ever had, but
not the cheapest either.
No, but the French aren't known for their beer, so I don't know what, you know, that has to be taken into account as well. And everything is pretty expensive here. There's not a whole lot that you would want to do if you were on a budget. Now, that having been said, I would say that I wouldn't be in a huge hurry to get back to here, but we're actually coming back here next summer, and we already know that, right?
Yeah.
So next summer, Paris is hosting the Olympics, but some of the outside things are happening here in Marseille. And our daughter was actually super smart enough to get into the lottery of buying the tickets for the Olympics. And we picked the things in Marseille, not knowing we were coming here now at the time. So we're going to be here for the sailing and the soccer competitions at the end of next summer.
Yeah.
So we are going to come back, and there are some things that we learned for sure.
Definitely.
It's a congested city, so driving here, never going to be an option for me. I know that, because it's just, it's very, and the lanes are a little bit wishy-washy. It's a little like Paris in that respect, where there aren't really purposeful places that people drive. They drive wherever they feel like, and so driving is out of the question for me. But those trams, definitely, we're going to take advantage of those next year when we come.
Yeah, so don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to wait a year or so and see what we do next summer. But also, if you want to see where we're going next, tomorrow we're going to be in another city here in France.